Welcome to day 11 of the 60-day Cloud Security Challenge. Yesterday we set up GuardDuty for threat detection. Today we zoom out to AWS Security Hub, which takes findings from GuardDuty and every other AWS security service and puts them in one place. If you have been following along, you know that managing security across multiple services, accounts, and regions gets messy fast. Security Hub is how you tame that chaos. So what exactly does Security Hub do? 3 things. First, it aggregates findings. GuardDuty, Inspector, Macie, Firewall Manager, and about 65 third-party tools all feed into Security Hub. Second, it normalizes those findings into a single format called ASFF, AWS Security Finding Format. Every finding gets the same fields: severity, resource ARN, remediation steps, timestamps. This matters because you can write one set of automation logic and it works regardless of which service generated the finding. Third, it runs compliance checks. It evaluates your environment against frameworks like CIS AWS Foundation's benchmark, PCI DSS, and AWS Foundational security best practices. Before you enable Security Hub, you need AWS Config running. This is the dependency that trips people up. Security Hub compliance controls query config rules under the hood. If config is not enabled, those controls return not _available instead of passed or failed. You will look at your dashboard, see a bunch of gray not _available statuses, and think your environment has not been assessed, because it has not. So Step 1, enable config with full resource recording. Step 2, enable Security Hub with the Enable Default Standards flag. That turns on CIS and AWS Foundational best practices automatically. Now let us talk about compliance standards. Each standard contains individual controls. CIS has about 50 controls, AWS Foundational has over 200. Each control checks one specific thing: is CloudTrail enabled? Does the root account have MFA, are S3 buckets blocking public access? When you first enable Security Hub on an existing account, expect to fail 30 to 40% of CIS controls. That is completely normal for accounts that were not built with these benchmarks in mind. The approach I recommend is to sort by severity. Fix every critical finding first. Those are usually quick wins like enabling log file validation or blocking public S3 access. Then work through high, then medium. Disable controls for services you genuinely do not use. If you have no EC2 instances, failing EC2 controls just adds noise. Multi-account aggregation is where Security Hub really shines. If you use AWS organizations, you designate one account as the delegated administrator. All member accounts send findings upstream automatically. You can also enable auto-enrollment so new accounts get Security Hub without manual intervention. But here is what people miss: cross-region aggregation. By default, Security Hub only shows findings from the region you are in. If you are looking at US East 1 but a GuardDuty finding fired in EU West 1, you will not see it. You need to run create finding aggregator with the all_regions linking mode. One command, but forgetting it means blind spots. The most valuable feature of Security Hub is not the dashboard. It is the EventBridge integration. Every finding that enters Security Hub generates an EventBridge event. You can write rules that trigger Lambda functions, step functions workflows, or SNS notifications. Here is a pattern I use: create an EventBridge rule that matches on Security Hub findings where compliance status is failed, severity is critical or high, and workflow status is new. That last filter is critical. Without it, your Lambda fires every time the finding is updated, which Security Hub does periodically. So your remediation function runs in a loop on the same finding. Filter on new, and it fires once. The Lambda fixes the issue and updates the finding workflow status to resolved. You can also push custom findings into Security Hub using the Batch Import Findings API. Run your own scanner that checks for deprecated Lambda runtimes or missing tags. Push those findings into Security Hub and they flow through the same EventBridge rules and dashboards as everything else. Tomorrow we dive into S3 security, bucket policies, ACLs, encryption, and the ways misconfigured buckets cause data breaches. The S3 controls in Security Hub will make a lot more sense after that. See you in day 12.